When I watch this video, strong emotions come bubbling up. I'm a bit sad, I'm a bit lonely, and a bit nervous before taking what will be my longest passage ever. It's amazing that those emotions come bubbling to surface so quickly just watching the video. Fortunately, the trip was actually devoid of those emotions. A great hug and a kiss from Gail started the mission off on a good foot.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in Vigo.
I am so looking forward to being in Vigo. I started the mission early for two reasons. One, was too anxious to sleep in, and secondly, I could use the flood tide to make departure much easier, as the flood pulled the bow away from the dock. A little bit of bow thruster and I was set to go.
Ready to row? I gotta focus now, no more chit-chatting.
After leaving the dock, I will head down the River V. This leads to the Bay of Biscay and starts my trip to Vigo, Spain. It is 440 miles to reach Vigo. I've chosen an easy weather window with plenty of breeze from the north, under 15 knots. To give you a sense on the map where I'm going, this is Saint-Gilles-Croix-de-Vie, where I'm starting. Follow the cursor and you'll see as I head across the Bay of Biscay. It is located in the middle of western France. Now we're continuing across the Bay of Biscay and we'll get near the Spanish coast. La Coruña is a well-known sailor's town. Then around the tip of Spain, we pull into the lovely bays that encompass Vigo, Spain. Well, let's stop looking too far forward for Spain and just pull out of the V River. Plenty of hazards to avoid. One advantage of the early start is there's very little traffic on the river this morning. I've enjoyed my many summers in France, but this is my last stop in the country, as Spain will be my next destination. With the tide so low, I must honor all the marks and make sure not to run aground. Finally, I'm exiting the mouth of the V, and it's time to get some real sailing going on.
Good morning. So first problem solve of the morning was the fact that the autopilot was being very erratic, left, right, and I got a little problem solving game on. And the problem is the H5000 B&G likes to use speed through the water for all its calculations, and my paddle wheel was a little fouled and was giving a data of 0. And so that got the H5000 quite frustrated. Now there is a way you can go into the menu and say, no, just use the GPS speed. But I went in, pulled the thing out, cleaned it. I'm gonna go down there now and double check that it's not leaking, because there's a little fiddly way to install it. And I'm gonna go double check, well, clean up the little bit of water that came through. But I wanted to come on deck and make sure all was good. So first puzzle, so close I can still see all the details of Saint-Gilles, Saint-Croix-de-Vie. Yep, it's two towns, Saint-Gilles and Saint-Croix. They merged, and they're on a river called the Vie. And it's not a big town, but they got 3 names. Pretty good for them.
The boat's propeller comes with 2 modes, normal mode and overdrive mode, which is more fuel efficient. Let's learn how it works.
There are 2 pitches in forward gear that the Gori Propellor has. Second pitch, the one that has more pitch to it, gives you better fuel economy if you're just at like normal cruising speed. We're gonna try to shift from standard propeller pitch to overdrive. You shift to neutral, then shift to reverse, give it a few hundred revs extra in reverse, and then lose those extra revs, and then quickly, almost without pausing in neutral, then go into forward. Boat has to be going forward, so I'm in forward idle right now. Then I put the boat into reverse. Now I'm in reverse. Now give it a few revs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just trying to give it a few more revs than just normal. Then boom, boom, boom. To test that you've made it, you then give it wide open throttle just for a little bit. And if on this boat, if you're going 2,500, you have reached the maximum that overdrive has. If it goes to 3,000, you haven't put into overdrive. Now we test it to see. I may have paused a little too long in neutral. We're in overdrive. You also notice that you're getting a slightly higher speed for the same RPM. All of the fenders have been removed, and now I'm going to load them into the technical room. We've gotten out of the harbor. We're about to pass Pilure, which is their famous channel entry mark. Fans of data, here is my little screener going on. Here's the fancy B&G compass. They call it sail steer. Here is the graph of true wind direction, true wind speed. And here's some data about my arrival. And time to destination, 88 hours. There's my destination, 43:07, 9:21. My position's 46:40, so I'm going about 3 degrees. I think I'm in a westing as well. I'm going from 1 west to 9 west. And what we're gonna do here is just a little prep for putting the spinnaker up. We are going to extend the pole. The way I store the sprit, this line here is the line that supports the sprit. This guy can go off the water. This guy needs lots of slack on the tack line. That previous one is the sprit bobstay. Now we're starting to pull on the sprit line, which pulls the sprit out, but I want to keep the tack line on board so I can attach the spinnaker later. Now the sprit is fully extended.
The tack line shackle is waiting patiently at the bow, and the clutch for the pole extension line is closed after having tightened it using the mast winch. How long does it take to hoist the mainsail? Well, I just checked the tape. Under 2 minutes. I think that's pretty fast. And the spinnaker hoist is also under 2 minutes, but I did not include the prep time, which is more. Somebody asked me when solo sailing how to get the chute to fill so nicely. The key is to preset the spinnaker sheet to a location that is relatively tight, and to have the boat at a hotter angle than you may wish to sail.
Update. This black line is where we should be going. We are going about 30 degrees above it due to the fact the wind is blowing straight down our run line. Let's just go look at the sail plan.
Got the main up. I don't know if that's over trimmed. I think it is. I never bore with looking at the spinnaker. So beautiful. Tack line's quite high because I'm trying to go downwind as much as possible.
This is the tack line, and it goes through this eye to kind of divert it from the hatches.
But it probably comes maybe a degree or two close to the furler up front.
The spinnaker 2-to-1 tack line has a bit of twist in it. I would correct this if the wind was stronger. The cure would require dousing the spinnaker and then rehoisting. So I'll hold off.
Let's go back and look at some of the numbers to figure out how we're doing. 429 miles to go. My speed's around 5 knots, but I'm not going the right direction. VMG of the course. So it's basically how much course sailing you're doing. And so right now, that's around 4 knots. So when I was motoring a little over 5 in fuel conservation mode. So I've lost a knot. So because we're on this 4-day passage, I have to be a little careful with my power. So we're gonna deploy the Watt & See now. The Watt & See comes with 3 different size blades. But the reason there's multiple sizes is based on your top speed. If you go for a really big one, it produces more power at low speeds, but at higher speeds, it gets too much power and stops making power. 11 amps of power consumption. Let's see what happens after we plug in the Watt & See. We're going to see what we're doing, and the current has not changed one bit. So let's go see if the breaker's turned on for the Watt & See.
The Watt & See is emanating a green light, which indicates the unit is off. Well, I gotta sort that out.
I see both breakers are good.
Why didn't the hydro produce power initially? It was because there is a relay that was in a bad state, meaning that it wouldn't let the electricity through. I have since changed that by using the Master Adjust software. I think that just occurred because I had the whole system turned off for the year during the winter. And now we can go see how it looks. And there we go. We're not going quickly, so we're only getting, but we were at 13 and now we're at 9. So, or 8, you know. So that's a nice portion of our range extended. Let's check back in on the old Watt & See. Now we're only consuming 5 amps. Let's finally hit a whopping 5 knots of boat speed. Basically 8 amps is coming out of the Watt & See at 5 knots. I mean, this is an absolute game changer. You know what I'm gonna do? Take a little nap here. One of my biggest challenges is being good at sleeping. You know, some of the other stuff I'm pretty comfortable with. You know, putting the spinnaker up and down and, you know, solving a little electrical problem. I'm really getting good at sort of like the 10-minute nap. Just put my head down, and then after about 10 minutes I want to get up and see what's going on. Let's give you a little tour of what's going on. So this is now fully converted into bed, right? That's where I sleep. Over here is the nav station, which is also a nice place to hang out. It's also my dining room. And then there's the full fridge of all treats that Gail left. Got a question for my viewers. So I'm working on trimming the mainsail a bit, and I'm as deep as possible downwind in about 10 knots of breeze. And see what happens is the spinnaker sheet, that's the green line, is kind of rubbing the boom and preventing the boom from going out farther.
My question to the viewers is, do you have the same problem? Should I add a twing line to the spinnaker sheet to allow the boom to go out farther? What to do?
You know, I take that back. The leech tails, they look pretty good. So let me just go trim that stupid main sheet in a bit. Who knows? Now I'm gonna clean up the downhaul line for the spinnaker snuffer, but I should put my vest on before I go to the bow. Now we're gonna have our solar power rant.
My solar panels frequently produce 0 amps because one is shaded. I have 2 solar panels permanently installed on the foredeck that both produce 8 volts. In order for a 12-volt battery to charge, it needs to receive something around 14 volts. In order to make an 8-volt panel produce more than 14 volts, one wires 2 8-volt panels in series. When both panels are exposed to sun, they produce 8 volts. Then an MPPT controller takes the 16 volts and drops it down to 14.3. However, if one panel is in the shade, the combined effort is only 8 volts, and the controller cannot raise the voltage.
Right now, this guy is probably producing a wonderful 8-point-some volt, while this guy is shaded and producing diddly over squat. And combined, results in very few amps or 0 amps going into the battery.
Why did Solbian make panels that are 8 volts? And I don't have the answer to that. I don't mean to. Obviously, Solbian is one of the premier solar panel companies and loved by many. So I'm missing part of the joke. And then I started looking at the Solbian website, and I didn't find 16-volt panels of the same size. Is there an engineering reason they can't get 16 volts in that size space?
Please correct me in the comments if I have my electrical engineering upside down.
So I've cleaned this up. This is what I consider cleaned. I have the snatch block with the side you pull down for snuffing already. The rest of the line sort of neatly flaked there. Cleats are turned down so no sheets get caught on them. There are the check stays. They've been brought forward. That lets the boom go out since we're in downwind mode. Halyard for the code 0 is nice and far aft. If they're stored up front, then sails when they're furling can get caught on them. That's my little red pointing arrow, which I like for docking, with the 0 there. I met a guy, quite a nice guy, who worked for the British Navy, teaching people how to dock all different types of boats, from I don't know, submarines down to small ones. I can't remember precisely. And I told him about this, and he said actually that's what they do in the school sometimes for students that are having a tough time. But he said, don't worry, when you're in reverse, if you just point the red arrow where you want the boat to go, that works as well. I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. Because we're in offshore mode, of course, the bow thruster has its little cover on, and the power's off for that. Main halyard's always coiled and ready in case for some type of emergency drop. Same thing with the spin halyard, which is sitting inside the stack pack. See you guys.
I just did a little bit of reviewing of the weather I got. A little chance of thunderstorm activities starting tomorrow quite early in the morning, pretty much through the entire day. Now, being a Floridian, you can't live your life worried about thunderstorms, but it probably isn't the best time to have the kite up. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to run the kite tonight till sunset. Just before sunset, I'll put it down. Here's how you use your radar to find storm cells coming towards you. One of the radar adjustments is the rain filter. If you turn the rain filter to 0, it shows lots of rain, which means a storm cell.
I've changed the rain to 0. And what rain to 0 means is, please show me a lot of rain. And so now I'm trying to use this radar as a weather radar, not as a find other ships radar. And I could look at gain. Sometimes I turn the gain up as well to try to see. And there we go, a little too much gain. Let's turn it back down. There's probably not a thunder cell out there.
When the radar is set to find storm mode, you'll see a very large orange blob. It is not subtle.
Voilier dans la position latitude 46 degrés 47,3 minutes north et longitude 002 degrés.
So they're madly calling somebody, and I've checked twice, it's not me. They've just told the guy that going in there is prohibited. Man, it's only gonna get harder when I get to Spain. I've got 2 fishing vessels here, and they look like they're socializing. Maybe they're swapping beers. No, I bet they're working together on one net. Might have to take this guy down. What a shame.
Well, it's the usual program that dedicated Cyclops viewers are very aware of. I've just eased the tack line for the spinnaker, and now I'm rushing forward from the cockpit to access the spinnaker snuffer line, which I've looped around the forward rail. You know what? It never works smoothly. The snuffer line is now free from its storage location, and I begin to pull on, yep, the wrong line. After my dull brain gets that figured out, I start pulling on the right line. With such a light breeze, it's pretty easy to pull the snuffer down. In light air, I don't even use the safety snatch block. The power of the spinnaker has been neutered now, and the snuffer has created a sausage. I ease the spinnaker halyard to drop the sausage on the foredeck. Then later, I'll put it in the spinnaker bag. Major U-turn. Just took down the spinnaker, and guess what? I'm putting it right back up. Hardest working man in the middle of the Bay of Biscay. Well, let's hope this increased breeze holds on for a while. Well, that was a tidy spinnaker set. Now let's see if we can get closer to Spain.
Well, sun's been up for a while today, and so it's a bit toasty down below. But I found a wonderful shady spot with a beautiful breeze. Wow. Spinnaker's up. I feel like I say that all the time, but I get excited when the spinnaker's up. Had to do a little uppie and a downy and an uppie because the breeze dropped below 5 knots. And as you'd expect it, once you got it down, the breeze returned nicely. So it was down for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or however long it takes pretty much to take it down and bring it back up. Why patience is important in offshore sailing. Not my forte. So you can see my feet as I relax on the foredeck. I mean, how great's this? I have 3 more days of this. Oh, I got the twist out of the tack line. That was at least one thing accomplished during the douse and hoist. Try to have some curl, but not go crazy because I'm here lounging on the foredeck. Hey, we're actually getting a little bit of speed. It's feeling a little daredevilish just to be on this foredeck. The need for a spinnaker turtle is quite large on this boat. The bag just doesn't cut it. I have to head back to the cockpit due to the fact that there are 2 fishing boats on the horizon that I need to not ram into.
Jacques Vallée is the designer of this boat, and I can only imagine he spent hours thinking about how that bow would interact with a variety of different waves. Look how sometimes the bow skims, and another time it has to power through the wave.
Well, the breeze is filled in, that's why it felt so good. 11 knots of breeze, we're now doing 8 knots. I'd like to go a few degrees lower, but I'm worried about these fishing boats. Reminder, I need to go 236, and I'm going like 250. Look at that, I'll have fewer than 400 miles to go in maybe a half an hour. You know, maybe I'll cover this sort of personal topic. When I have these new challenges to do, it's hard for me to just relax the week before, the 2 weeks before. I'm thinking about it, I just want to get it done and get tucked in. And so what I found is I have to work hard on enjoying my little mini adventures on shore with Gail. And it's so exciting because it can go back from being an absolute, bozo to being only a half bozo now. My first season, just getting the boat from one port to another was an accomplishment. And I did everything with Gail on board. And then the next season, I was thrown out of the nest and went around and did a handful of passages just solo. Coming to marinas, picking up mooring balls, anchoring. And then this season's been about the overnight. I did my first 2-dayer, one night. And now this is going to be 3 nights, 4 days, or possibly 4 nights. Longer passages, that part I've done a lot in my old boat. The part that gets me nervous is just that I'm alone, and the sleeping, I'd have not had a lot of success solo on the sleeping. Anyway, enough of my confession. I just finished the sort of rig check, just making sure the boat's ready to go to bed. When the light's good, it's good to check out that you don't have a line in a dumb place or whatever. I might put the Wattensee away for the night, and we are making great progress. Look at that spinnaker pull. And we're only 20 degrees off rumline course. Right now we're gonna a wind from 45 degrees, and they talk about that becoming from 000. And so that would just jam us right down run line. The attack of the killer fly, but it bit me. The fly has not been killed yet. I actually texted Gail and said, "Where's our fly swatter?" And I was unable to find it. I think I will spend my remaining portion of the afternoon outside, because now finally the cockpit is completely shaded. We're about 4 hours or so probably from sunset. We've had the spinnaker up pretty much all day except our false takedown. A little nervous tonight. We have a forecast that will keep us busy. You know, thunderstorms possibly in the wee hours of the morning. But I'm gonna take the spinnaker down. Let's see, what time is it now precisely? It is 5 o'clock. And so I think I have another sort of 4 hours of light. If we jibed over, we would go more directly to Spain. But the problem with that is the breeze is from this side. What I mean from this side, meaning there's good pressure on the more northern side. If you go south of where we are, which is more efficient, there just isn't a lot of breeze. The other little menacing thing that I have is a little bit too much weed coming off my rudder, but I'll have to work on that. That's your update. Eaten a bunch. A lot of sandwiches. Had a couple sandwiches, yogurt. That's the tough part for me, eating. We are smoking along now. Breeze just got up to about 16. And, oh my gosh. Kind of settled down a bit after I just changed the course. The weather outside is just so nice right now. During the day, the sun's pretty harsh, and so it's good just to try to avoid it. Make sure I don't lean back and change the course. Right now I'm 151 true angle, taking advantage of the slightly increased breeze. At times can only get as low as 140. The problem is that we're still sailing 30 degrees higher, or 30 degrees more west than Spain is. So we're going to basically due west, and Spain, of course, is southwest. But that is sailing. You never get to go where you want to.
I wonder if that black fabric will last not as long due to just getting all the sun. You know, I had a screecher for my last boat that was all black, and it turned like dark gray after about a season.
I'm gonna go put my shoes on and get a little more prepared, because that kite might have to come down a little in a hurry if the breeze goes up a bit. And I was just relaxing. It's easy out here to sort of think too much, what if, and you know, lightning's coming, and just calm. I mean, look, I'm in less than a meter seas. Oh, and there he is, Mr. Dolphin. It was a brief visit because they had a business meeting to go to.
Okay, that's enough of playing with the camera. I'm gonna go get the shoes on.
Okay, we're doing 1.0 with my kelp stick, otherwise known as the boat hook. See what we can do here to remove some of the weeds off the rudder. Absolute failure. The boat hook starts to bend when I go for it, so we're gonna have to find a new technique. Ow, just got a present from the wind gods, because the weather forecast said that the breeze would become a northerly, and that is precisely what's happened. And we're pretty much headed straight at our waypoint bearing. This also will transition well when I take the chute down, because we're close enough to the wind that the Genoa will work. Take a few naps, watch a little TV, read a little something, eat a little something, just enjoy. I mean, this is such good news. Probably can't see it, but I just brought the tack line in a bunch, because now I'm a little bit closer to the wind. And the tack line system on the boat works really well. Just throw it on this winch. Beautiful, one of my favorite colors of lines on the boat. Okay, I just pulled the Wattensee down, and now we're doing a reasonable pace. Look, we're actually charging the batteries. Okay, drawing 0.3, drawing 1, putting 3 into the batteries, putting 3 in. There you go.
When the boat's moving over 5 knots or so, or at least now it's going about 7 or 8, it's really helpful to use this purchase to pull the Wattensee into position. You can remove it afterwards, but it just gives you that extra strength to make sure it's all the way down, giving you the most efficiency.
YouTubers are always telling you that waves look bigger when you're out here than on camera. But right now, waves are definitely under a meter. If they look small on the camera, it's because it's super comfy. Tonight might also be a little bit of excitement. I think the breeze might get to the 20s. Let's first just enjoy what will be a great sunset.
As I mentioned earlier, we have the world's greatest wind shift. And we now are just headed straight to the tip of Spain, pretty much. Have the tack line a bit too hard on, I think. The seas are coming from right about here, and so that's why it's comfortable. I think on a monohull, if they come right from the stern, it's not so good. On a cat, that was fine. There's that main, probably could be eased a few inches. I'll be speaking Spanish soon. Buenos dias. Yeah, my Spanish is horrible.
This is a really simple page they have. It takes my current lat long and tells me my rise and my set. Does everything in ship's time, so I don't have to make a mistake. So thank you, B&G.
This is my most efficient takedown of the trip. If I dare say so, it looks slick. I still regret not having used my Talaska shackle during this trip. The shackle is attached between the tack of the sail and the tack line. It is then remotely released. The advantage of the shackle, it allows the spinnaker to drift better into the cockpit. As you can see, the tack line arrests the spinnaker from going to the center of the boat.
Pretty good. Taking a little cat nap. And I have all the accoutrements required for comfort. Got a little fan on me. Got the alarm set. Goodbye. I need some privacy.
As I napped, Cyclops took care of me, monitoring the AIS, the radar, and the wind speed.
You never know when the hard stuff starts. I switched the boat into night mode. Now I had seen earlier that in about 2 hours there's a huge Spanish fishing fleet that I was going to have to go through. 10 minutes later I said, that doesn't make sense, why aren't they there? Kept pressing a bunch of buttons on the B&G. Realized I could see the targets only in the radar screen. Rebooted the whole system, which is a total pain. Major off the scale stress. Till I realized what changed at dusk. I switched from day mode to night mode, and somehow or another, in night mode, all of the AIS icons disappear. B&G, I'm gonna figure out if it's my fault, but if it's not, I'm going after you.
I'm not a great YouTuber because when the action happens, I try to solve the problem rather than film it for you guys. I was rebooting the system, I was in a panic, I heard a bling bling, and I looked off, and at the corner of my eye, I thought I saw something go by that was black, like a screw or something. I said, okay, I can't deal with that right now. I did look at the main and that area where it came from to make sure nothing was falling off, and after the dust settled on the B&G problem, I then noticed, because the breeze had become very light and the main was flapping back and forth, that one of the battens was protruding out of its batten receptacle. Dedicated listeners will know the batten receptacle product made by Antal holds the back of the batten into the mainsail. That has a screw, and it went boom into the ocean. Maybe I didn't screw in well or whatever, but I will have to buy a replacement. But what was happening is a very long batten, probably 12 feet or so. That batten had to come out of the sail. So I slapped a reef into the sail quickly. The batten's just above the first reef. I then used the second reef clew to just lower the batten down. I then lowered the boom by easing a couple of things and pulling down on the main sheet. And I was able to then pull safely the batten out of the mainsail and place it down here. You might be very frustrated to have had so much go on at the beginning of my first night. I'm actually very excited and happy about it because 2 different types of problems, both of them I solved. Just to understand what they're doing, this is about 150 meters, and over here is 700, 800 meters. So they're working that continental shelf, the wall or whatever. I guess there's good fish there. Still sort of heart rate recovering from the AIS problem. 0.6 knots of wind, I guess that explains why the engine noise is on. So that's one of our fishing vessels out there, that little white light. So this one you can see better, it's flashing for sure. Boats are not allowed to have flashers.
that's supposed to be for lighthouses.
This is why Spanish people eat a lot of fish. They have a very large fishing fleet. This is one of those night watches where I'm earning it. Been on deck a lot. Let me just turn some light on here so you guys can see me. That's my cool boom light. Anyway, let me give you the update. The 2:44 a.m. update. We're in 17 knots of breeze. The weather came out this evening with a little bit of a breezy portion now, so I'm a little under canvas by design. The breeze might get into the mid-20s to 30. We're making a good 7.5 knots right now. Staysail and one reef in the main. One reef in the main was really driven by the batten going for a swim. The new breeze is from the correct direction. And we've got a consistent 17 knots now and the boat's, you know, doing a nice 7. As I said, under canvas. I wish I could show you more, but it's pitch black out there. The only thing that is out there on the horizon is a very large passenger ship headed off to all places Plymouth.
And there's the moon. In another couple hours, we will get sunshine. And we've had a pretty tough night. Working quite hard, the sails. Seas become a little washing machines.
Thanks for watching part 1, and I hope you'll enjoy part 2 when it comes out next week.